ahead and get started with today's call. So today I have the amazing Amanda Hare as our special guest. She is the owner of So Chic Salon Brands. She's the owner of So Chic Salon Brands, and she has grown and expanded her business several times throughout the years. She has a lot of wonderful wisdom to share about the process of growing and expanding. So I just want to turn it over to her for a quick little intro and background, Amanda.
Thank you so much, Olivia, and thank you for having me for this too. It's wonderful to be here. And I see a couple of familiar faces. I can only see like 4 people on the side panel here. So just want to say hi to everybody that I know. Thank you for being here. And just a little bit about my background. I started with Bob Steele Salon in 2001. We were a single location in the Atlanta market. I came aboard with previous management experience from the retail industry and started out as a salon manager. I was actually thinking about doing hair, so that's why I interviewed with the company. But Bob Steele, the owner at the time, had a different vision, which I was not aware of when I was hired to be the salon manager. So after being within the salon for a while, then in 2004, I bought into the company. I did not realize that it was Bob's plan to have an exit strategy, and that's why he hired me, which I was very excited for, a great opportunity. So I came aboard as a 49% owner of a single location. So that was my first acquisition coming into the salon business. We signed a deal in 2004, which actually covered the full buyout of the salon, which we executed the second part of that in 2009. So from 2004 to 2009, Bob and I grew the company from 1 to 3 locations. When I bought in, it was my vision to go multi-location. And the reason why was that I saw just a beautiful opportunity for growth within our industry. I really loved what the Bob Steele Salon brand was about, the great values, great people, and it just, felt like home, and I wanted to expand that feeling even further. So after 2009, then I have done 2 new builds and then also 2 additional acquisitions too. So today we are at 7 locations. And within that too, part of the 2 relocations that we've done too, we've actually moved a whole team from one market to another market too. So I've had a lot of experience over the years since 2001. Also took the company out in 2009 when I did execute the second part of the buyout and became the owner of the full company. We also had to get out of the recession too. So there's been a lot of life experiences, a lot of challenges, a lot of learning experiences, and just a lot of love that goes along with it too.
Amazing. All right. So we do have a few new people that joined since we first started. So I just want to repeat that if at all possible, please stay on mute during the call so that we can hear Amanda clearly throughout the call. And then also feel free to post any questions or comments in the chat. We're going to be discussing various topics related to growth and expansion today, and we'll make sure to pause after each section for questions. So feel free to add those questions right in there. And then at the end, we'll also have an opportunity for questions as well. Okay, so thank you, Amanda. Thank you so much for joining today. I met Amanda about 2 years ago when she and her team switched over to Aura, and I know that she has an amazing wealth of knowledge about growth, expansion, and just salon operations in general. So to get started, why don't we talk about your team? So what would you say are what is the role that your team played in making your successful growth and expansion? And then 2, what would you suggest that owners look for in a team when they're thinking about expanding?
That's a great question because your team is really the core of your whole business. Without a really great team full of people that are aligned to the vision, you're not going to be able to take your vision where you want it to be. So, over the years, I mean, we've had so many different evolutions of our team in terms of leadership, and our stylists too. You know, a common thing for us within our industry is that we do grow some stylists and stylists do leave. That's just part of the industry. The same thing does happen with leadership too, where we grow people and they reach a point and they move on to something different too. So throughout the years, we've evolved teams of stylists, we've evolved teams of leadership too. There's a lot of learning that's in there too. So here's where I would say that, you know, where a team plays a role too is you've got to have a team that is really aligned with whatever your vision is for the company. That is number one. Number two, I would also say alignment with your core values too. And always have that in mind whenever you're actively selecting people to be a part of your team. We want people to stay with us. We want to retain them. We want them to be happy. That happens when there's alignment with the values, and not only within, in the salons with the stylists, but also leadership too. Leadership's got to be able to walk the walk with that alignment and values, as well as be there to lead the team within the locations to be in alignment with those values too. That creates consistency and happiness. The other thing that I would say too is that know the strong attributes of the people that are on your team, whether it be in your stylist area that you're looking for people that could grow and develop as educators to teach and train or mentor others, as well as in your leadership to know what their specific skill sets are, because you want to have alignment there too. You want to make sure that whatever someone's skill set is that they really love and are passionate about, they're in that role. So for example, within our company, we've got a great variety of people that have different skill sets. So it's very important to have diversity too, because if everybody liked to do the same thing, we wouldn't be able to move forward because one skill set is not going to be able to move us forward. So we have a great balance of left brain thinkers, right brain thinkers. We have people that have strategic minds. We have people that are more, about sociability and connecting. We have people that are detail oriented so that, we can get the administrative part of the business going where it needs to go too. And I would say that that's probably one of the biggest learning experiences and learning lessons that I've had over the years too, is it's so important to have a diverse group of different thinkers so that you can move forward. I would also say clear roles and responsibilities. I'm a big believer in, having a template for what someone's role is so that it creates consistency as well too. Have a weekly cadence. What does that look like? How are you going to move forward? And here's the key though, is that you've got to have somebody on your team that's going to be able to manage those things as well too. So, evolution, at one point in time, the business, I managed a lot of the operations myself. As we've grown, we're at 170 employees at this point in time. So it's quite a big operation. My role has shifted. I've had to offload some of the things that I was doing in the day to day. And I have to say this to you, when you find people that really and truly love to do those things, it's even better than what you could have done yourself too. So I'm very thankful to have a really great group of people that are aligned in those ways at this point in time. Now we're all learning and growing together every day too. I don't think that there's a day that goes by that we don't, have something that comes up that we're all learning together through too.
Amazing. Okay, so we do have a couple questions in the chat, actually. So the first one is from Logan. He has expanded from 1 to 6 locations across Georgia, North Carolina, and Indiana. He says that his biggest struggle currently is hiring trustworthy people and identifying and eliminating bad partners. What are some of the things he can do to address that?
That's a great question. So one of the things in a vision too is knowing what your model is. So within our model of the business, I am the sole owner of the company, and we have got operations structure that oversees a management company, and that management company oversees managers in the salon location. The other difference with our structure too is that we're close together. So we do have a South market that's outside of our North market. North market has 5 locations. South market has 2 locations. In addition to the oversight of the management company, we have people in place in those markets that can oversee the day-to-day too. Our model also might be a little bit different in the regard that we have operations people that are running the locations, not service providers, with one exception. Within our South market, we do have a service provider that is overseeing operations and doing a wonderful job too. Typically for us, it just works better if we separate the left brain and the right brain function, and have left brain or more operational minded people running the operations, and then creatives running education, relationship, services within the salon too. So in terms of partnerships within my specific model, I don't have that experience. I do know some really great salon brands that do have experience in that though.
Wonderful. We have another question asked from Mandy, who says, what size service producer team seems to work best together and is most profitable?
So that is also a great question. In terms of going into a deal that I'm looking at for a location, whether it's a new build or an acquisition, I have got a chart of break evens that I look at. I look at a break even for rent. I look at a break even for services to that rent. And then also at that point in time, you've got to take a look and say, okay, if you've got that service total that you need to do to break even for rent, whatever your goal is, my goal specifically for my business is around 7%. So I've got to look at that revenue and then break it down into how many numbers of chairs do I need to have at that location in order to fulfill that revenue. So, having that strong financial system is really important. And knowing what is going to be a good break even in all of the categories for you and your budgets is important too. So me specifically looking at a location, I won't even entertain it unless it's $1 million worth of revenue or higher, because for my specific situation, we've got to pay a manager to be in that location to run the operations, have guest relations to be there as well. So we can't do what we need to do unless we're at that revenue goal on the low end.
Perfect. And we do have a follow-up question to that. So just clarifying about the 7% that you set for yourself, is that 7% of gross or 7% of net proceeds?
That 7%, well, it depends on how you're looking at it gross, but your total sales, total service and retail, as far as gross. Now I'm sitting here thinking about Aura and some of the discounting, so that's where I don't want to get tripped up in the languaging. But if you're looking at your total revenues, what you're getting gross, what you're bringing in actual dollars, service and retail.
Perfect. So I am going to pause here. We do have a few more questions, but I'm going to save them for the end of the call so that we can shift into our second topic. So our second topic today is to talk about the systems and processes that you put in place that helped you or facilitated your growth and expansion.
All right. So systems and processes. Over the years, I have to say this about our industry too, and I am also part of the creative group of people. I kind of live in both the creative mind and the analytical mind. So I can't switch as much as I could in my younger years. It's getting a little difficult, but at one point in time, my creative mind wanted to recreate everything. It didn't matter what it was in terms of the system. I wanted to make it our own system branded to Bob Steele Salon. So as I have grown and grown the company and wanted to make sure that we had consistency throughout the company, it became really apparent to me that I didn't have the time or energy to go back in and edit every time that we needed to edit a term or a phrase so that we were sharing the common language across the whole organization. So in terms of systems, I'm going to give like a high level systems that we look at. And this is an adaptation of Qnity. And the reason why I gave you that story beforehand is finally I was like, we're going to really work with a company that has a strong foundation of language so that we can all learn the language and stay consistent with it. So the adaptation is the areas that we look at for systems and processes are strategy and growth, finance, operations, education and culture, HR and administration, and marketing and recruiting. Now, within those areas, I have someone that is the head of each of those departments. Within those departments, then we strategize based on budgets for each department, what are our goals for each department, and systems and processes for each department. Within that, then we can have the consistency with our management company to then spread that information through our director of operations, Debbie, who then goes to the salon locations with the information so that it's 100% consistent.
Lovely. Could you repeat what the departments were again?
Yeah, absolutely. So strategy and growth, finance, operations, education and culture, HR and administration, and marketing and recruiting. Now, again, going back to the team of people, when you've got someone in the role running each of those departments, you've got to have a specific type of person who is wired to handle those individual departments. So having said that, we've worked with a really great company over the years too that have helped us select the right people and put them in the right roles. And that's Culture Index. So we have each and every one of our team members, from stylist or intern, stylist, management, every aspect of our business. They take a survey, and it just gives us an indication of how they're wired for communication and thought processes. And then that helps us select who is the right person to go into that role. It's not a staffing firm. It's just a tool that we use to help place people in the right role. And I've been using that since 2015. And it has thankfully helped me make some really great decisions and place people in roles that they feel good about and are passionate about.
Amazing. I am going to go ahead and just repeat the departments one more time. It's strategy, growth, finance, operations, education and culture, HR and administration, and then marketing and recruitment. And then we can also send a follow-up to this call with those departments as well. Okay. So now let's shift more into the processes that you have supporting your business.
Okay, so processes supporting the business. Again, over the years, we have worked with so many different tools for processes. And we got to a point where, we were really we were aging out of our previous software system. We brought in another software system, and the back end management of it was just so much for us to handle that we came to the decision as a group for our management company that we needed to look for things that were simple and easy. So one thing that I have to say is that a software system that is simple and easy is so important for your POS system, your Salon software system. We decided to come aboard with Aura a couple of years ago, just because the number one thing that we were spending to manage our software that we had currently had was labor. I mean, we were hiring people just to manage what we were doing on the back end of labor. So, we've worked with several over the years. We wanted something that was easy on the back end, as well as easy on the front end for our team that's in the salons. So those systems and processes that we're looking at is you've got to have something that's really strong and automated in scheduling, online booking, inventory, systematizing your inventory so that you utilize mins and maxes so that you have easy pull purchase orders that you're not thinking about week to week. Marketing, text marketing has, kind of taken the place of any type of email marketing that was once before. No one's really looking at emails anymore. It's all through text marketing. That was really important to us too. The other things that we look at are accounting and payroll. Now, as we're taking our company to the next level, one of the things, I'm in charge of the strategy and growth department at this point in time. And one of the things that we're taking a look at is taking it even further. How can we automate everything that we're doing to where one system's talking to the next system? So as we're moving forward, we've reached out to Aura to see if we can help streamline some of those systems. And we're working on some things on the back end that's going to help inventory management to a level that we've never seen before in the industry. So those are the types of things where, now in my role that I'm really getting excited about, taking a look at what we're doing in our business and how can we make it even more efficient. As you're growing your company, as you're looking at expanding, labor is the most important thing that you're going to be taking a look at. We've got such a very different dynamic in our labor force at this point in time than we've ever had before in our industry. So really making those right choices on what you're using for scheduling, for inventory, for marketing, for accounting and payroll, it's so very important at this time too.
We have a question about what comp structure do you use within your organization and how did you come to that decision?
Great question. So it is a basis of what works within our budget system for our company. You're going to have a different filter for different things that you're looking at. With my structure that we've got, heavy management, guest relations. We have a bucket that we have that is for service providers, which is the largest bucket of our business that we pay. We have a different bucket for guest relations, a different bucket for management too. So for service providers, for us, we have a couple of different commission structures that we have because we've had to grandfather some people in from acquisitions as well. But we are typically at a 45% with a 9% product deduction off the top too. Now, here's another thing that's probably a little bit different for us as well, is that we do run all of our tips through our POS system as well, so that we can put the tips on paycheck and we are in line with one of our core values, which is integrity, to make sure that we are reporting everything accurately as well.
Okay, great. And then let's shift into the last section. So talking a little bit about if an owner is thinking about expanding, what are just the overall factors that they should consider before expanding?
So, there are a lot of things that you have to consider. Number one is, what is your why? My why is about building a community and serving creatives and primarily females so that they can have a really consistent and healthy work environment to work in. That's what's important to me. The money aspect of it really isn't important to me. And I have to say that because if you're looking to expand to multiple locations and you think you're going to get this huge payout because you're bringing out this revenue, that's not necessarily the case, because what you're looking at is that you're adding additional overhead for each and every location. So, your margins are smaller, and you're I'm sure that there are some really great organizations out there that are really banging in, making all of this great profit, but profit margins are typically smaller. The other thing that I look at is location, what the location feels and looks like, what center is it in? Is there good traffic flow? Parking is important. Rent is important. Negotiating those great rents are probably the key to any success in going to multi-location. Without a great rent, I mean, you're going to lose it. So being break even for rent revenue, making sure that you can have a quick ramp up time. Most of the rent, the leases that are out there, they're set for 5 or 7 years. Well, if you aren't breaking even in 3 years, then what's the point of even opening up a location? So you want to make sure that you're paying attention to those things too, because you're just going to open a location just for the fun of it as well. And then after that 5-year lease term, what are you left with? So definitely taking a look at that. Are you looking at a new build? Are you looking at an acquisition? What is your risk tolerance for that too? And then also, what is the strain on the current network of your current company too? Are you going to be able to handle that with your labor? Are you going to have to hire new people? So if you're going to have to hire new people, that's going to be factored into the budget of the growth too, and your break even as well. The other thing that I really want to bring up too in a decision factor is that we've got something else that's happening within all employers at this point in time. If you break that 50 full-time equivalent mark for employees, then you have to go into another tax category where you have to follow the Affordable Care Act guidelines. At that point in time, you're looking at an additional financial strain for your business. And that was one of the determining things that I was looking at back in 2015 when that became part of our everyday way of life. Was either, we can stay where we are. I don't know if that's going to serve us where we are, but that was one of the reasons why we had already reached the $50 or the 50 full-time equivalent break point. So at that point in time, my mind was, well, then we've just got to continue to grow. So it makes sense. And then here's another thing. Is it more profitable to expand, or is it more profitable for you to keep a lower overhead with less too? So those are all of the things that you've got to kind of take into consideration, especially if you're looking between 1 and 2. You're going to have growth time there. So you've got to be really aware and comfortable with having debt for a while, because it will take you a while to build and grow. And then when is that point where you're going to start breaking even and making a profit too?
Okay, great. So we have a question. What do you feel is a good versus a reasonable margin per location?
I mean, the ideal for any business is a 10% margin. That is not happening. I just want to say that. For me, a healthy margin is 3%.
Okay, great. And then we have another question. What do you think is the minimum square footage to produce 1 million per location?
Minimum square footage is going to be 1,500 square feet if you've got it packed really good. Okay. We have one of those locations, very thankful for it. Great rent rate that's there. And that's our baby location. And it works, but it's tight. It also has its challenges. But our ideal square footage is 2,500 square feet.
And
But we
how
have
many?
locations that are up to 5,600 square feet too. I'm sorry, Olivia.
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to ask, how many chairs do you have in those locations?
So the 1,500 square feet location, that one is 12 locations. We've got, most locations are around 15. We have one that has 20, one that has 32 chairs. So we've got a wide variety, and each location has its own nuances and break even. So you can look at it as a template and grow. If I were to do a template and grow, it would be that 2,500 square foot with 15 chairs.
Okay. And then another question is, do the staff have dedicated stations or are they sharing stations?
We have done it different ways. After COVID, we have dedicated stations. As we continue to grow, we will be sharing stations. And we do have, my business is more of a part-timer business. I have a lot of moms. So we do have a lot of people that are working 2 or 3 days. Those people do share chairs. They're just there on different days as well.
And then another question is, how many staff do you have on average at a location, do you think?
So are you saying for stylists, for guest relations, for management? What category? Interns, stylists? So I would probably say we have around 15 stylists on average at each location.
Perfect. Okay. So we had a question earlier in the call as well, when you were talking about your operations center. And we had a question where someone said that they were building an operations center structure based on the model that you're describing, but they've had challenges finding a good place to set up an ops center. So they asked, how big is your space that you went with? And did you have a mandatory on-premise, or do you do a work from home on-premise hybrid?
I wish that the team that runs this would chime in here, but I know she's on mute right now. So what I did for our ops center is back in 2015, I purchased 2 office condos that were next to each other and then cut out a hole that goes between the two. At our ops center, we have our call center, we have accounting, we have marketing, we have our director of administration that runs the ops center. And then we have meeting space in there. So I've got an office there too. I'm not there as much anymore. But we also have a conference room where we have all of our managers' meetings. And we do that once a month with all of our management from our locations too. But I bought those 2 units in 2015. And let's see, we've got probably a little less than 3,000 square feet.
Perfect. All right. Well, I think those are all the questions that we have, unless there are any last minute questions. Amanda, do you have any final statements that you would like to make?
I would actually, in terms of finding people, I think it's really important to surround yourself with people, like-minded people that can help you grow and see what's next for you. So I'm just going to encourage you guys to find some groups. Here's a couple of groups that I belong to as well. One of them being Vistage, and that's a group of business owners that gets together once a month to share ideas. And I've been in Vistage since 2011, and my group has been such a great support in helping me see things in a different way and grow. And then also the 2 to 10 project too. That's a group of multi-location salon owners and their leadership team that gets together once a year. And then we've also got the L'Oreal Advantage program, which is a multi-location program too. And if anybody's thinking about going to 2 to 10 project, just want to say I'll be there this year in Atlanta. It will be in Atlanta this year, and I'll be there. If anybody has any questions, please reach out to me too.
So we have, can Kerastase salons participate in the L'Oreal program?
Absolutely. I will be there I'll be there also too.
All right. Well, I think that wraps up everything we were going to discuss today. Amanda, you are amazing. We appreciate you taking the time to walk us through these different tips for growth and expansion. If we have anybody on the call that is not currently an Aura salon and you are thinking of expanding, or you currently are a multi-location, we would love to show you why Aura is a great fit for multi-locations. And we're currently offering to send your team treats during the demo. So if you schedule a demo in the month of April, we will supply treats for your team to enjoy during that demo.